Okay, welcome back to the Before the Breakthrough podcast on Dynamo TV. We've got Raith Rovers number 8, Ross Matthews, with us. Thanks for coming on this cold Thursday morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks very much for having me.
No problem. Right, I've got some quick fire questions for you.
Right.
So these are ChatGPT's quick fire questions for a midfielder.
Right, okay.
Right. Protein bar or banana?
Protein bar.
Win a tackle or glide past someone?
I would rather glide past someone, but it's more likely for me to win a tackle.
Right. And this is the last one, which is probably my favourite one I've seen so far. Look over your shoulder or panic and play it back to where it's come from?
Probably similar answer to the last one. I would much rather look over my shoulder, but I'd more likely panic and pass it back to someone. Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay. So now that we know that you're a bit sort of anxious on the ball, let's go from there. Right, anyway, this is all about your youth career, mate.
Right.
So tell us the very start. What's your memories of football? How you got into it? Take us through it in your own words.
I mean, for my whole childhood, all I remember is kind of having a ball, wearing football kits. My dad's massive football fan, massive Hearts fan. So when I grew up, I was a season ticket holder at Tynecastle, I think from the age of 2. I think anything just to kind of get me out the house. My dad telling me stories of like me falling asleep in his lap at the game, stuff like that. But yeah, ever since I can remember, I was always kind of kicking a ball about, playing football in the garden. And then kind of as I grew up, obviously joined my first football team, which was Edinburgh City, maybe at the age of 5 or 6, I think. That's probably actually my earliest memory. I remember being in the car with my mum and dad driving about Edinburgh, going to different clubs and seeing if there was any age groups open at my age, because I was desperate to get I don't know if I was desperate or my dad was desperate to get me in a football team.
It's quite common to have clubs at 5 or 6 now, but back in the 90s and 80s, you were more sort of 8, 9 or 10, so that I can understand how there was a wee bit of searching going on there.
Yeah, so I think Edinburgh City, they started a year earlier than I remember going to, I think it was maybe Tynecastle, they were the year after. So I ended up joining Edinburgh City at the age of 5 or 6.
What can you remember about that?
I just remember playing with my mates. 2 of my best mates who stayed on the same street as me ended up joining at the same age as me, so I used to just love going there and playing with my mates. I was down at Carricknow Primary School, so I can't even remember if you played proper games the first year or if it was just training. But I do remember having fun and enjoying it.
Perfect. So Edinburgh City at 5 to making your debut at Raith. Give us the quick.
Right. In between, so at Edinburgh City, I was a couple of years there, and then when we did start playing games, there was a new team kind of in Edinburgh that came up called Royston Rangers. So they were basically, it was Salveston were the best team at our age group. And one of the coaches from Salveston left, started his own team, and he was basically going about picking all the best players.
Right. I don't recognise that name actually.
Yeah, so they were only there for, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years. Because all the players literally went to Pro Youth.
Right, okay, wow, so it was literally...
Yeah, it was, I mean, out of our, I don't know, we must have had 7 aside, so maybe we had 11, 12 players. I think 90% of them went to Pro Youth.
Right.
So yeah, I was there for 2 years, and then I was on trial at Hearts and Hibs, so I had to make the decision to go to Hearts and Hibs, and obviously growing up being a big Hearts fan,
this side of Edinburgh and all that as well. Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. And then I was at Hearts to the age of 16. I was released at 16. Went on trial with Falkirk, trained with Spartans for a tiny bit, and then I went on trial with Raith Rovers, and then signed with Raith Rovers and been there ever since.
So, made your first team debut at Raith Rovers?
Yeah, so when I signed at 16, I had a year in under 17s, and then after that I was offered a pro contract or like an apprentice contract,
Aye.
which was 2 years. So that would include all the stuff like doing the boots and cleaning the changing rooms, and did that. And during that stage, in between those 2 years, so I think it was maybe halfway through my first year, I made my debut against Livingston at 17. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So basically, Hearts from 8 to 16, then to Wraith. So you were at that. Okay, that's quite similar to Jamie. Then he was at Hearts for that sort of stretch as well, and then got released. So right, so that's right. We've got the sort of footprint there. Let's go back a wee bit closer to the start. So, Edinburgh City, what? Oh, and into what did you say, Royston Rangers?
Royston Rangers.
So just that wee brief period before Hearts. I know it was very young, but can you tell me what the environment was like? So you said it was good players, but that aside, what made you want to go all the time? What sort of were the coaches like? What was your, you've mentioned your dad, but family network like? What was that whole sort of built out like at that period?
First of all, what made me want to go back, and I just enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved football, so probably going anywhere I would have loved it. Edinburgh City, like I said, I was playing with my mates, so I really enjoyed it. And then I still actually remember really clearly my first session with Royston Rangers, because it was an indoor hall, but I remember like the guys in this team were so much better than what I was used to. So that was like quite a big step up for me. It was like almost going into a pro youth team, because it was all the best players from Edinburgh. But I remember the coaches it was almost a lot more professional, even at a boys' club, because they'd give you, remember my first day, they'd give you your own backpack, and it had your own ball, like even things like training kit, stuff like that. This club had it. And
I think that's quite important though, because it makes you feel like, you said professional, but it just makes you feel connected to the whole team.
Yeah.
So straight away you're like, oh, this is my team.
Yeah, it was really good, and even the coaching kind of at that level, a lot of technical stuff. That's kind of why they'd give you your own ball. So like everyone would have their own ball. Like they'd teach you certain skills. You'd go home, practice it with the ball, and then you come back. And
so you were getting homework.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. And even later, like going into Hearts used to do stuff like that. I remember I had a coach, Roy Craig. So he never took any of the age groups, but every single age group would go with him like 1 day a week.
Right.
So I think he was like maybe like the technical coach or something. But he used to do stuff like that where he'd teach you a skill, and then the next week you'd go home, practice it, and you'd have to like either show him it, or everyone would practice it and then show him it the next week. But it was cool stuff, like when you were that age, like stuff that you wouldn't use in a game, but it's just enjoyable, like catching the ball in your neck, or maybe doing it around the world, or he used to do like, even his training was amazing. Trying to think, he used to do stuff like that I would never have thought of. So like instead of wearing bibs, you'd wear hats, so you had to play with your head up.
Right, okay.
One day was mental actually. I remember we wore eye patches. I still don't know the reason behind that.
Right.
But it was like, I honestly don't know, but it was so hard. Like people were like missing the ball.
Aye.
So it was so hard to play with one eye. You're probably going to have to ask him the reason behind that one. But yeah, I mean, going back to your initial question, just the reason I got into it is because I really enjoyed it.
And it sounds like they all made it enjoyable as well.
Yeah.
Around about, you know, I know you're saying round the world and catching on your neck. You might not use it as a game, but when you're a wee kid, developing those bits of control are so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of.
Did you? So interestingly, people are sort of go one way or another with this. Did you develop your technical sort of maturity through structured coaching and learning, or did you do it a lot just in the back garden with your mates for the street? And how do you think you sort of progressed?
For me, the majority was just myself. Like where I stayed in Christophin, at the end of my street, there was like a little grass area we called the field, and me, two of my mates, like every day after school, we'd go there and just hit shots. And yeah, just kind of muck about there. So, I mean, most of what I learned probably came from just doing stuff like that. Obviously, you are getting coaching. Like I said, the stuff I was saying at Royston Rangers, at Hearts, but most of it was kind of learning myself. I used
Aye.
to always even just kind of go and I had like a tiny little wall, like maybe up to my chest in my back garden. I used to just hit the ball off that all the time, just practice. I think that was probably one of the
A
biggest
big
things.
part of it. Aye. So then when you go like and play for, you said you turned up to the first indoor hall session and you're like, these players are good. How quickly do you feel like, oh, I'm good as well? And then connected to that, I always find it interesting. So you said you picked Hearts over Hibs. Like, was it your dad that turned around to you and said, "Oh, you've got a chance to move"? Was it the coach? Was it how did all that come about, and how did you feel across that period?
Well, the Hearts and Hibs thing. I mean, my dad would never kind of influence me, and he was always really kind of laid back. Like it was my decision, whatever I'd want to do. But like I said, I was a massive Hearts fan, like as big as you get when you're young. So, like Hibs didn't interest me at all. I was like completely focused on Hearts.
So is that though like a? Do you know there's a scout that's coming at the game or has been at the games? You're going to have to, I don't know if it was Oriam and Trinent at the time, but you're going to have to go there for a bit of training. Like, what's the actual, things that happen that then you have to start producing a feeling from and then playing football through?
Yeah, so it was scouts, literally scouts,
Yeah.
like kind of what you'd imagine, scouts standing in a big puffer jacket at the side of the pitch. I mean, you were that young, you wouldn't really think about it. But yeah, it was kind of like that, especially because our team was so good. You'd have scouts at every game. So yeah, it was the scout would go over and I don't know if they spoke to either my dad or the coach, and then you would go in and train. So I used to go and train at Rickerton twice a week, and then I'd go train. I actually can't remember where the Hibs training was. It was before they were training at Trinent. I remember playing a game with them, a trial game. It was against Spartans at Inverleith. The main reason I remember it is because my uncle was a big Hibs fan, still has pictures of me in Hibs still.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I loved that one.
Oh, we should have got them pictures today. That would have been fun.
I'm sure I could probably find them. But yeah, I mean, I can't even remember. Sorry, what was the question?
Aye, so you were just saying you remember that you were going down there, and then it's kind of like how's that like a continual thing that then?
Oh yeah. So then I literally went from, because there was quite a few of us that were both at Hearts and Hibs. I don't know if it was one team or the other, had decided to put the training on the same nights.
Oh,
So
right.
you had to decide. They were like, you can't train with both. You need to decide. And it got to the age where they were going to start playing games. Because at the start when I first went, it was kind of like, it was constant like round robin tournaments. They'd have a team for Hearts from Edinburgh, a team for Hearts from Glasgow, and you'd kind of meet up and play round robins and stuff like that. But yeah, then it got to a point where you had to choose. So everyone kind of had to make the decision.
So you're at Hearts then for a while. What's actually been an academy like? It sounds like a pretty broad question, but if somebody asks you that, what are the top 2 or 3 things you think of straight away?
Like kind of what I was saying earlier, it's just a lot more professional.
Right.
You go in, you're not taking your. Actually, I think you did take your kit home and wash it, but like, it was just all the equipment was better, the coaching was better. I still don't think academies are kind of the be all and end all. Like, there's a lot of players that don't come through academies. Sometimes it can even hinder players. It's kind of about playing as much as you can. There's no point in being in an academy if you're not playing
and getting any touches.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest thing when you're young, just actually getting touches of the ball, enjoying it. But yeah, I mean, at Hearts, the level of coaching was really good.
And it's difficult for you to maybe answer this if you weren't also in boys club at like, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. But what makes you think it was better than elsewhere, like the level of coaching? You mentioned with the Royston Rangers had good coaching. What makes you like? What are the sort of things that make you think, yeah, that's why it was better?
Yeah, I mean, at that age again, you want more technical stuff. So just little things like how to receive the ball, how to pass the ball, technique. Coaching was really good. Like I was saying earlier, like that coach Roy Craig, that little things. Like I didn't really get that amount of detail at boys' club. So yeah, I'd say that was maybe the main difference, but also probably the fact that all the players you're playing with are really good. So you're actually, because you're playing with better players, you need to be better. Because you're not going to get maybe as much time as the ball as, for example, when I was playing with Royston Rangers, because we were probably the best team playing against teams that maybe weren't quite as good, I'd have more time in the ball. When I was playing for Hearts, I'd be playing against boys at Rangers and Celtic who were a lot better.
And then can anticipate what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a midfielder. Were you always midfielder? Did you move about? What's your sort of positional journey?
Yeah, so I started off when I was at Edinburgh City. I played right back. Then when I moved to Royston Rangers, believe it or not, I played in the wing.
Right.
Which, if you see me
Why are
play
you
now,
laughing?
if you see me play now, you would never believe that. Yeah, and then when I first joined Hearts, I was a winger for quite a bit until I was maybe 12, 13, went into centre mid and kind of been there since.
What do you think that benefits moving about positionally, and did a coach move you, or did you say, actually, I think I'm burning out here on the wing?
No, it was all from coaches, I think. But like you said, it definitely benefits you, because playing in different positions, you get to see the game from different areas. You get to, even from playing, I mean, just now, I've occasionally played full back. I've played different positions, even played centre back once last year, which is, again, quite strange for me. But you get to learn, kind of, I'll know if I'm playing full back, I'll know exactly how I want to receive a ball in midfield. So,
that's interesting. You mentioned like body position. Like the kids that I'm sort of beginning to coach, they're only 7 and 8, and already I think that's quite a focus that we need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so young, you still want them to enjoy it, but actually you're like, how they receive the ball, their body shape, where they push their first touch into, these things are so important.
Yeah, it's something I actually wish I had more of when I was younger. More, as much as I'm saying we did get a lot of technical work, I still wish I had more of it. I think that's the biggest thing when you're younger, because you can always kind of learn parts of the game and pick it up quickly as you get older, but the technical stuff, kind of once you get it when you're younger, I feel like it sticks.
Yeah, those are habits that you need, whereas aggression or being first to the ball or whatever, those are more like, they're not as coachable for a want of a sense. So I always think it's quite interesting. I didn't realise you were in the academy for that long, right? Is there like, you mentioned you're young, so you don't really think about it, but is there pressure being in the academy? Because you hear a lot of parents that say, oh, they've got the review coming up, I hope they don't get released. Like, is there pressure in there from those ages?
Yeah, I guess there is. I mean, I don't think I felt massive pressure, but looking back, there definitely is, because, like you said, the reviews. Thinking back to reviews, I was always nervous for going to a review. You'd sit there with your mum and dad, and they tell you like what you're doing well, what you're not doing well. You're obviously like really nervous going into that. But yeah, I mean, my dad was really, like I said, he was quite laid back. He would only ever give me a hard time if I wasn't putting in 100%
effort.
But if I had a bad game, he wouldn't have a go at me. He'd know that I had a bad game. I was one that was really bad for like crying or stuff when I was younger. I was really competitive. So like if I lost a game, I would just break into tears.
Like on the pitch or in the car home?
In the car home, most likely. Yeah. So he probably couldn't have a go at me. But yeah, I think the pressure part more comes from parents. I feel I was quite lucky, whereas I can think of guys in my team, without naming names, like I'd have thought if I had their parents, like I wouldn't have enjoyed it nearly enough. Like I remember one guy, his dad used to like rate his performance out of 10 after a game, like stuff like that, which I just found mad.
So that even I always think about it from like a parents shouting at their players, their kids when they're on the pitch, but they're not part of the coaching staff, and those I never think are I understand why parents want to do it because they want the best for their kids, but I don't think it's very healthy.
Yeah, obviously it comes from a good place. Like people just
Aye.
want their kids to do well, but it's not helping at all.
Aye. So you didn't feel particularly loads of pressure in the
Nah,
academy?
maybe the older you get, when it's getting close to the stage where you think, like, I could actually maybe make it professional. At those stages, obviously when I was eventually released from Hearts, like it felt like the worst day of my life at the time. Like it felt like I was shattered. Like I remember driving home from that meeting with my dad, just like, again, floods of tears again, the crybaby at the time. But yeah, I just felt, maybe at that time I probably felt a lot of pressure because I thought, I had this dream in my head growing up watching Hearts every week, like I'm going to play for Hearts. It was just stuck in my head. And at that moment I thought, oh, that's never happening. I'm not going to be a professional footballer. But also, I probably only had Hearts in my head. I didn't have the wider outlook that there's actually other teams out there.
The world is a big footballing ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of connected to you saying that you were sort of like shell shocked at that point. So like the resilience to bounce back from that. Can you remember what you needed? Was that purely internal? Did you have did your dad sit you down and say, look, son, life is good, there are other teams, like what? How did you sort of, because even moving from one boys club to another, or not like going on trial at Hutchie or Dynamo and not getting in, people will feel that same feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I remember going home and it probably affected me for quite a few weeks, if not months. I kind of felt, probably at the time, a kind of embarrassment, which was obviously not right. Like I shouldn't have felt like that. But yeah, I remember my dad kind of encouraged me to go to other clubs. So again, I could have went to Hibs at the time. I was that big a Hearts fan, I somehow turned that down, which I shouldn't have done at the time. To be fair, it worked out well because I ended up obviously going to Wraith. But I went to Falkirk, really enjoyed it there. Stevie Fulton was actually the coach of the youth team who I used to grow up watching for Hearts. So I loved it. I actually thought I did really well. So
he's such an engaging person as well. Like I've actually seen a few of his coaching sessions, and I think they are brilliant just by how much energy he has.
Yeah, I loved it. Like I thought his coaching was really good. Played a couple of games. I thought at the time I played really well. So I remember him pulling me after a game, kind of saying, "Let's get a meeting with you and your dad." I took that as my head as I'm getting signed. Next thing you know, pulls me in and tells me they're not going to sign me. So that was like a double blow after getting rejected from Hearts. Rejected there, I was kind of like, at that point, I was like, nothing's happening. So I went to Spartans, trained there for a couple of weeks. And then Rafe got in contact. I literally played one game. It was away up in Elgin. It was my first game. Horrible first game. But I scored, played really well, and yeah, signed there. Loved it.
Aye, that's quite a cool story actually. So even though you've been let go from Hearts, you've had and then another knockback. You're actually learning life lessons along the way, and I bet once you just started like training and playing again, all that kind of leaves you, and you're just like, actually, just get me my next training session, get me my next game, get me my next experience in football.
I actually think it was the best thing to happen to me, because I think by getting released and then even getting rejected at Falkirk, it gave me that hunger to kind of work even harder to get that contract.
Do you ever, I know this is about your youth career, right, but do you ever have, when you played Falkirk since, do you ever have like a wee bit of extra fire even though it's a derby, or does that not come into it?
Nah, probably not, because I was that young at the time.
And it was a brief...
Yeah, it was literally like a month trial. But yeah, it was tough to take at the time.
What about in terms of that like tough to take aspect? Did you ever have any periods where you felt like you were falling behind your peers and you're like, maybe football is not for me, like more challenging moments, injuries, anything like that you had to overcome? Or were you one of the lucky ones that just sort of breezed through?
No, I definitely wasn't. I feel like from the ages of, well, until I was maybe 13, 14, I was always kind of one of the best at my age group, or I felt like it.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just deluded in my mind, but
Yeah.
I thought I was one of the better players, and I was a really late developer, so I was a lot smaller than the rest of the
growth-wise, right.
I was a lot smaller than the other guys in my team. Like I was saying, when I was younger, playing the wing, I was quite quick, and then gradually guys were catching up. I wasn't quick anymore. That's kind of probably why I moved into centre midfield. So then I actually missed that part out. At under 15s, there was like a gap, so you'd go from under 15s to under 17s. But myself and 2 other players in the team got held back, so we had an extra year at under 15s. So at that point, I was kind of thinking, oh, they've held me back. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't think.
What are the pros and cons of that?
Yeah, exactly. But again, looking back, it was probably a good thing at the time, because I probably wasn't ready to play with guys older than me when I wasn't even probably the same size as guys my own age. And one of the other guys that got held back with me, Liam Smith, he's now playing professional as well. He, like, out of the guys that were in my age group, I think me, him, one other guys, Jordan McGee, we're probably the only guys still playing professionally. So.
So it just shows that was the right call. But
at that age, like you said, that was a setback. And at that, I was thinking, nah, maybe this isn't happening for me. And then obviously, when you're getting released, you're thinking the same thing again. I was quite lucky with injuries. I didn't really have many injuries when I was younger.
Even after your growth spurt when you were a bit?
I had things like, I had Osgood Slatters, my knees. I think that was quite common when you're kind of at that age. So I remember having that, and like growing pains, stuff like that. So I mean, that age is always quite difficult.
So out of all these experiences you've had, did any, so that we've talked like football only, did you do any other sports to help with your footballing experience, or did you like any other sports? What was your sort of range?
Yes, I mean, I played all sorts of sports just through school, but the only other sport that I really got into was golf. So I loved playing golf when I was younger. I wasn't, like, I know you've had Jamie Gillan on the podcast. I wasn't as good as like him. He was just like ridiculous.
He's one of these people though that is just good at every
He is
sport.
good at all sports. I've played a lot of sports.
I would have bullied him at school because of that.
He is good at everything. It's actually annoying. But yeah, I loved playing golf when I was younger. From the ages, I used to go to the driving range, maybe started when I was like 11, 12, and then as I got older, I got a membership at Gogarburn and Ratho, and all summer I used to play golf. So it'd be quite good to kind of take my mind off football a little bit. I think if you maybe just constantly think about football, I don't know if it's that good for you.
I quite like, so that like loads of sports are good for like correlating to other sports, but I think golf's good because you've got to have like a temperament that keeps you balanced, and you know, because you're never going to have a perfect day. And in football, you're never going to have a perfect day, but it's a lot quicker, so your emotional reactions can spike. Whereas golf, it teaches you, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's the most frustrating sport in the world, so you've got to learn quick that it's not all going to go your way.
But normally when you're driving that long drive out of Ratho afterwards, you're going, that was a good drive, I hit on, whatever. You're not thinking, it took me 4 to get out of that bunker or whatever, do you know what I mean? So it's quite good. And then what about, so I can imagine being in an academy, particularly at those ages, is quite like time intensive, right? So what about balance of school, friends, family, and anything else that you've got as interests?
Yeah, so I mean, it was intense. So you train, I think we were 3 nights a week, and then we'd play on a Sunday, and even sometimes, I think when we got to under 14s and 15s, introduced a Saturday morning session as well. So it was like a ridiculous amount of training.
Hearts are quite notorious for being like overtrainers is the wrong word, but they do train a lot
Yeah.
at all age groups.
Yeah, it was a lot. So I remember like when I was at high school, my mum or dad would pick me up straight from school. They'd bring like a meal deal or something, or like a pasta pot. I'd have something quick, get changed in the car, and go straight to training. So yeah, balancing that with school can be difficult because you're literally straight from school to training.
Yeah.
I was.
Were you bad for ever being like, I can't be bothered training tonight, or were you like, nah, I'll turn up.
No, I was good. I was like, I loved going to training, so that was something I always looked forward to. But going back to school, so I went to Stuart's Melville, which is a private school, and they're not really into football at all. So it was kind of mandatory that 2 periods a week, or 2 double periods a week, you'd have to play rugby. So on a Tuesday and a Thursday maybe. They were my training days with Hearts.
Oh, right.
So I used to get out of school early, get to miss the rugby, just to go to training. So I was actually missing parts of school to go to the training, but it didn't really go down well with the rugby teachers at
It's
school.
more accommodating than I thought they would have been, though, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so
that is quite.
I had to get letters and stuff written in from my mum and dad, and again you were meant to play on a Saturday morning, but again I couldn't do that. So yeah, they were quite good, but they were also rugby was a lot more important to them than football.
So it's interesting just hearing you talk through, because I'm trying to. The few interviews I've done on these now is basically enjoy it as much, like just enjoy it at the early ages, try hard, and then keep showing up, and you'll learn good things along the way. You might get into a good part of professional football, you might not, but that experience will stand you in good stead anyway.
Yeah.
Right, getting towards the end, because it's absolutely freezing in here. Was there a moment where you thought, actually, I'm going to be in the professional game? Like, was there a single moment where you thought, that's the moment I needed to believe?
I don't know if there's a single moment. I probably didn't really believe I'd make a career out of it until I was full-time at Raith. And even still, so the first 2 years I signed, it was like an apprentice contract, so like you're way below minimum wage, and like you're cleaning boots, you're cleaning changing rooms,
even when you got your first team debut though, or like a coach gave you a piece of feedback, anything like that, where you thought, actually this is going to go beyond,
I don't know,
apprenticeship?
I still think, because I'd seen so many players that were the same age as me, because I mean it's different maybe if you're playing in the Premier League, if you get released from there you could drop down a level and still be professional. I knew Raith Rovers was kind of on that borderline. If you don't make it here, you're either going semi-professional or you're going back down to boys club playing with your mates. So I kind of, even now to this day, it feels like you're kind of fighting for each contract still. So I wouldn't say there's a single point where I thought like I've like made it or anything, or I think maybe when I signed my first professional contract, that's when I first thought I can make a career out of this. That's probably the first time. And that wasn't until I was 17, 19 probably.
Interesting. So it wasn't like a spell of 10 games where you're like, I've absolutely smashed it at the perfect time here. It was more when the actual like tangible thing was done, you were like, okay.
But to be fair, that correlated at the same time as when I did start playing. So my first year that I started playing, like it was probably the best season to break through. It was when you had like Rangers, Hearts, Dundee United, Hibs. That was like over the space of two years in the Championship.
Okay.
So I was playing quite a lot of games during those seasons, and when I was playing against obviously top players, like playing against, I remember one of my first games was against Celtic in the Cup, and playing there, and like obviously they were battering us, but I still felt like I could kind of hold my own a little bit, and I didn't feel too out of place. I kind of thought at that point, I was thinking like I could make a career out of this.
You felt like you belonged, basically. Yeah. Right. Just the tail end then. Firstly, thanks a lot for doing this. But what piece of advice or things that you've learned would you either tell to a youth player, a youth coach, or parent? What are the sort of key messages you would get out to those groups?
Probably just goes back to what we've been speaking about the full session. Just the main thing, enjoying it. Like, just whatever you're doing, if you enjoy it, keep doing it. And then going back to just practicing. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. That goes to the coaches, parents, like we were talking about earlier. I think that just has the opposite effect if you put pressure on a kid. They should just enjoy it. And I do think when you're younger, you should focus more on the technical side of it. Just like you said yourself earlier, just getting as many touches of the ball as you can. Because the rest of it, I feel like, I mean, I don't know massive amounts about kids coaching at the moment, but from what I have seen, like, I see kids getting taught tactical stuff that I think you don't need to know that yet. Like, there's no point. You can learn that later down the line, just focus on the technical stuff. And then later on, you can learn, obviously you need to know the basics, like you can't be running random places, but...
I think I know what you mean though, like positionally and rotating positions and
Yeah,
things like that. Yeah, okay.
I think it can get overcomplicated, but you just to enjoy it. And
yeah, I love
think
that.
that's the main thing.
I think from what you've said through this whole interview, it's just reaffirmed to me, it's like football's there to be enjoyed rather than obsessed over it. So
Yeah.
why don't we all just do that?
Exactly. And if you enjoy it, you have more chance of working hard, improving. If you're not enjoying it, you're not going to want to get better at it.
Aye. Brilliant. Thanks for your time, mate.
Thank you very much.